1. Write a short story that begins with, "How I regretted believing that young man's story." How I regretted believing that young man's story. He clearly took one look at me and decided that I would fall for it. I am too trusting of people. Sometimes, that quality works to my advantage, at other times like this, it does not. It all began with an email. It was from someone I didn't know, but it still landed in my inbox instead of the spam folder. It was from a man who said that he had met me at the fundraiser event I attended a fortnight ago. Apparently, I had given him my card. I did not recall meeting anyone named Firoz, but that was not unexpected. I met so many people and gave them my cards that I ran out of them before the event ended. Firoz said that he had been very pleased to meet me. He found the story of how I had worked my way up from a humble salesman to the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company inspiring. He claimed to be a salesman himself. He wondered if I could give him some tips that would make him more productive. In reply, I asked him for his address so that I could send him a free copy of the book that I had written, outlining my journey to success. He thanked me for it a few days later, and I thought that it would be the last I heard of him. However, I found another email waiting for me one morning a week later. This time, I was inspired. In his email, Firoz had outlined his plans for a product that would revolutionize the house cleaning industry. He had attached the blueprint and plans for the product. Since his number was included, I called Firoz immediately. He told me a believable story about how he had been working on the project for more than a year, but he had not found anyone to back him up. He had patented his plans, which meant no one could rob him of his idea. I don't know why I believed that, but I did. Firoz came to my office the next day and we came up with a plan. I would finance the work and provide the infrastructure for a prototype in exchange for becoming an equal partner. Firoz agreed readily and I wasted no time in sending him the first check. It was a sizable amount because the initial costs are always higher for ventures such as this. He was supposed to buy equipment, hire a metal worker and show up at an unused workspace in my factory to begin work. When I went over that afternoon, the shed was closed. That was when the first warning bell began to ring in my mind. When I called him, an automated voice told me that the number was not in use. The warning bells became a loud siren. My next call was to the firm that he said he worked for. They had no one named Firoz on their payroll. The tires screeched as I pulled into the dusty lane beside the commissioner's office. I had called the bank as I was driving, only to be told that my check had been cashed. I could only hope that the law would find him. The commissioner, who was a personal friend, listened to my story and instructed his secretary to have a case opened against that young man who had so easily hoodwinked me. I had all the documents that the cheat had given me. The commissioner had a call placed to the patent office where it was verified that such a patent did exist, but it was registered to someone else. How did this fellow get a copy of that patent and forge his name onto it? I was baffled. In the next few days, the police worked diligently on my case, trying hard to track down the thief with what little details I could give them. The CCTV footage in my office was helpful, but ultimately, nothing bore fruit. He had vanished into thin air. Unfortunately, I did not get my happy ending. But I learnt a valuable lesson. Never would I entrust money to someone without verifying their credentials thoroughly. It was a lesson that helped me save a lot of money in the years to come. 2. Narrate an incident in which you did not do as well as expected. Explain why and what lesson was learned from the experience. I've always been a good student. I score well in all subjects, but I do particularly well in English. As an avid reader and an amateur writer, I pride myself on my command of the language. But they say pride goes before a fall. It all began one day when our class teacher announced that a team of students would be selected to attend an inter-school English competition hosted by another well-known school in our city. Naturally, I was selected to be the part of the team. I was surprised that a classmate of mine named Rajesh Gupta was selected. He was the second ranker in class. But he barely got enough marks in English. I shrugged and didn't think more about it. There were 5 students and 1 staff member with me. We reached the school and found teams from many schools gathered in the courtyard. The first few rounds were simple word scramble, anagrams, etc. Since my vocabulary was well developed, I did well in these rounds. Only 2 more were left, boggle and the spelling bee. I was really looking forward to the spelling bee. It was a speciality of mine because I loved to study etymology, the study of the origin of words. This made spelling easier. All I had to do was to get through the penultimate round, which was boggle. It was a game which challenged us to create as many words as we could from a grid containing 9 alphabets. The longer the word, the more points you score. This is a game that I've played often at home with my siblings. The only difference is that we usually gave ourselves a longer period of time than just 1 minute. Even so, I felt I could ace this round as well. When a friend told me that it would be a piece of cake for me, I nodded and asked to borrow a pen from her. I had one, but I was sure I would need another for this round and the next. It was quite arrogant of me, I later realized. When I went into the hall and the time started, I faced a grid that had quite a difficult selection of letters. Alphabets like W, Z, V and J made the game difficult. I struggled to think of words and had written down only 10. When to my amazement the bell sounded. I was shocked. 10 words. I had never written down so few. When the results were announced a few minutes later, I was ashamed that my name wasn't called. It was a bigger blow to see that Rajesh Gupta had qualified to the next round. My friends and teacher were amazed. They gathered around me and asked me what had gone wrong. I didn't really have a reply. On the journey back to school, I thought about the entire experience. People's brains work in different ways. A person might be good at solving one type of puzzle but struggle with another. It was wrong of me to assume that I would be the best. Worse, it was terrible of me to think that Rajesh Gupta wasn't good enough. My pride was humbled and my eyes were opened. I learnt an impossible lesson that day. 3. Winter is a far better season than summer. State your views either for or against this statement. Winter is a far better season than summer, for the statement. Every season brings with it its own kind of joy. Though summer is the season of light and growth, it cannot compare to the comfort that the winter season brings. The world responds to the changing of the seasons. People dress differently, alter their work schedules, change their food habits and adapt their lifestyle in response to a new season. In winter, people enjoy the cool, crisp breeze that keeps them on their toes. It is far better than suffering in the heat and humidity of summer. In the tropical regions especially, summer keeps people indoors during the day when the sun is at its peak. With fans and air conditioning units raking up the electricity bill, people have to hide themselves within their rooms to escape exhaustion, heat strokes and sunburns. In contrast, winter brings people out to their yards and the streets. Even in the temperate regions where snowfall is common, both adults and children enjoy a variety of winter activities. Be it making snow angels and snowmen or sports like skiing and ice skating. Winter brings it many unique opportunities to enjoy the outdoors. Being outside in the summer means dealing with bugs and excessive sweating. With festive occasions like Christmas and New Year. Winter is also the season of holidays. People travel and spend time with their friends and families. The holiday season also sees an increase in entertainment with more movies and music. Winter is a time of hibernation. The body's metabolic activity slows down and insists that we rest and relax. It gives people a feeling of comfort and coziness to stay indoors with a hot beverage in their hands. Unlike summer, winter keeps people cool and calm, increasing their creativity and productivity. People in artistic jobs especially enjoy the boost that winter gives to their ability to work. Winter also encourages people to enter the kitchen and try their hand at comfort foods. The kitchen transforms from a stifling oven in summer into a cool and fun place to experiment in winter. With cool breezes and holidays, with no sweating and exhaustion, the winter season is a far more comforting and relaxed season than summer. 4. You were on a school bus with your classmate returning from a trip. When your bus broke down in a lonely spot late one night. Describe the experience. Hakuna Matata, it means no worries. For the rest of our days. 37 voices rose into the air of the spacious bus as it made its way toward Ooty. We were returning to school after a fantastic excursion in the bustling city of Mysore. Since we all lived somewhat sheltered lives in the cool, green, queen of the hill stations. We loved any trip that took us to a city. Mysore did not disappoint. It was everything a city should be and we had a blast. We left at 5 p.m. for the 5-hour journey back home. 2.5 hours later, we were still singing songs when we suddenly heard a rattling sound coming from the front end of the bus. In a minute, the bus sputtered to a stop. Our teachers told us to stay calm and as they went over to speak to the driver. The view outside of the window was not promising. It was pitch dark and we seemed to be on a lonely stretch of road with no houses on either side. We could see the outlines of grass and thorny shrubs, but nothing else. There were no street lamps to throw light on our surroundings. The teachers came back and announced that we were stuck for at least an hour. The driver had to jog to the nearest village and find help. We were told to just continue singing and playing to pass the time. Easier said than done. There was something creepy about the place. There seemed to be many levels of darkness, black, near black, dark gray. It is easy to imagine things moving in the shadows when you are out at night. We didn't feel like singing and after 1 or 2 attempts, fell silent. Suddenly there was a rustling noise to our left. One of the girls stood up, screamed and then fainted. We all stared through the windows to see 2 glowing eyes staring back at us. I'm sure many more would have fainted if the cat hadn't decided to walk out of the bush onto the road. The teachers attended to the girl who passed out and after she came around, she had to put up with a bit of teasing. There were many vehicles which overtook us as we stood by the side of the road. Since we had all stocked up on granola bars in the last department store we visited, we munched on them for dinner. As we settled down for the long wait, an old man with a cane slowly shuffled his way beside the bus. He looked up at us and asked us why we were standing there. When he was told about the breakdown, the old man shook his head. He pointed into the darkness and said that his hut was a 5-minute walk that way. He asked us if we wanted to come to his hut and have a drink of water. He didn't have any food to offer but peanuts. We were all so touched at this poor old man's gesture. He was so generous with what little he had. We thanked him many times but told him we would leave soon. True to our prediction, the driver came back with a mechanic. In 15 minutes, the problem was fixed and we were off again. As we pulled away from the deep, dark night, we all heaved sighs of relief. A little adventure is a good thing, but I think I prefer being adventurous in the daytime. Soon, the sound of songs filled the cool night air again. 5. Study the picture given below. Write a short story or a description or an account of what it suggests to you. Your composition may be about the subject of the picture or you may take suggestions from it, however. There must be a clear connection between the picture and your composition. She walked into the classroom in the middle of the school day. A staff member was with her. A new student for your class. Mrs. Shriram, he said. One of the boys from the back of the class loudly said, "Oh no." It was a mean thing to say. She was a weird-looking girl. Her plump body was almost rectangular. She had thick eyebrows, a big nose, braces on her teeth and hair that was severely pulled off her forehead into a thick plait. "My name is Tarika," she answered when Mrs. Shriram asked her for her name. As all the girls and boys watched wide-eyed, Tarika took her place at a vacant desk. Looking at her compassionately was Rithuja, one of the popular girls in the class. She had turned around and glared at the boy who had exclaimed aloud when Tarika entered the classroom. Rithuja knew what it was like to be the new girl in school. But it would be much more difficult for Tarika, who did not really look normal. As soon as the interval bell rang, Rithuja walked up to Tarika and held out her hand. "Hello. My name is Rithuja." Tarika did not seem shy at all. She shook hands and talked to all of Rithuja's friends. Within hours of her arrival, Tarika found herself safe within Rithuja's group. No one would tease or bully her now. The gang of 5 had become 6 almost instantly. The following days and weeks flew by as the students worked hard at their studies and projects. The English assignment was particularly tough. Mrs. Shriram had asked them to read aloud an essay that talked about a life-changing event. They were instructed not to share their stories until their turn came. Rithuja talked about the birth of her twin brothers and how much it changed her family. It was humorous and touching. When Tarika's turn came, she stood shyly for a few moments. Then she started reading. "It has never been easy for me to make friends. I've been so lonely and felt so outcast in my previous schools. Here, I have my very own gang of wonderful, supportive, cool and fun friends. But that is not my life-changing event. My life-changing event lasted only 2 seconds. It was when a girl who I had never met before walked up to me and held out her hand. It was not just a gesture, she was extending the hand of friendship to me, an unconditional and forever friendship. If not for her, I am sure I would have been teased or ignored. I felt so hurt when someone commented on me when I was introduced to the class. I was trying to hold back my tears. I thought I was going to be miserable here. Instead, I became part of the popular group. People got to know me and liked me. I love coming to school every day. I study well and I'm happy. Even my parents and sisters have commented on how much I have blossomed." To some people, friendship might remind them of a place, or a gift, or a story. For me, friendship is symbolized by the hands of Rithuja. When she held her hand out to me that first day, she was not just saying hello, she was saying, "Hello, friend." When Tarika finished reading, she looked right at Rithuja and smiled. Both of them had tears of joy in their eyes. Mrs. Shriram was moved as well. She hugged Tarika and praised her essay. As she passed Rithuja, Mrs. Shriram patted her on the cheek and said quietly, "I'm proud of you." After the bell rang, Rithuja went to Tarika and gave her a warm hug. She looked at her with a big smile and said, "Hello, friend."